Hello everybody, this is Graeme Anderson, and today I'm going to be looking at Volcanic Isle. Now when I was checking out this game box, I noticed it had really nice looking bright minis, and the theme about an erupting volcano causing the play areas to become smaller and smaller. Now for some reason, I just like the theme of volcanoes, from the downfall of Pompeii to the game Eruption, so I was really eager to try this one out. Now it uses an action point allowance system where you get so many action points to spend on your turn to do various things. Raising villages, getting new settlers, sculpting moai, and even placing moai. But each time you place a moai, you risk the volcanoes erupting. Now the gameplay is a bit of an abstract strategy feel of trying to get and outmaneuver your opponents, mixed with some randomness and a little bit of take that. So does it all come together to make a fun game? Let's get to the table, see how it's played, then we'll come back for my final thoughts on Volcanic Isle. So here's Volcanic Isle set up for 3 players. The main board is made up of interlocking tiles, and if a tile has a hole in it, you'll be placing a volcano in there. Around each volcano, place 1 lava tile in each of the lava channels coming down from the volcano. Then, on each non-volcanic tile, place a lava tile in each area. These lava tiles represent the rivers of lava underground that you will try to harness to build villages and construct the moai. All of the volcano tiles are placed face down and shuffled up. Each player takes settlers, villages, moai, a boat token, action tokens, and scoring marker of their color. Place the boat token of each player in the landfall bay area, then 1 settler of each player gets placed on their boats. The first player is given the first player token, and you're ready to play. The game is played over a number of rounds until there are 2 or fewer volcanoes left on the island. On a player's turn, they will have 4 action points as tracked by their action point tokens. All actions can be done multiple times, except for the obtain a prayer action. So let's go through the actions. For 1 action point, you can move a settler 1 space. Now a space in this game is 1 hex. Each tile is called an area, and each area can have 1, 2, or 3 spaces on it. So spending 1 action point moves you 1 space. When a settler moves, they can carry a moai with them. But a settler may never cross a fissure, and I'll get into how fissures are placed later on in the walkthrough. For 2 action points, you can place 1 of your villages down. A village must be placed on a lava tile, and you must have a villager in the space you want to build. Remove the lava tile and place 1 of the villages on the lava channel. A village cannot be moved, but can be destroyed by flowing lava or by part of the island that is sinking. For 1 action point, you can create a settler in an area where you have a village and 1 other settler. During each turn, you can only create the number of settlers in an area that you have villages. If you want to create another settler in the same area on the same turn, you have to create a new village first. For 1 action point, you can sculpt a moai. You must have 1 settler and a lava tile in the space you wish to sculpt. Remove the lava tile and place 1 of your moai on its side in the lava channel. For 1 action point, you can raise a moai. You must raise a moai onto 1 of the geysers which are represented by the little lava circles on the board. But every time a moai is raised, you're obstructing the geyser and increasing the pressure in the volcano, possibly triggering a new eruption. Once a moai is raised, you must place a fissure token in front of the moai on the border between the moai and the adjacent area. Then roll the volcano die to see if there's an eruption. And I'll talk about eruptions in a little bit. The last action you can do, and the one that can only be done once per turn, is to obtain a prayer token. The action point costs for these change based on the number of prayer tokens you already have. If you have no prayer tokens, it costs 1 action point to get one, and the cost increases by 1 for each prayer token you already have. A prayer token is spent to prevent the destruction of a moai or a village. Each prayer token can save 1 item. You are never forced to use a prayer token, but once used, they are out of the game. So those are the actions you can do. Now let's talk about the destruction of the island. As previously mentioned, whenever a moai is raised, the volcano die is rolled. If the eruption symbol is rolled, an eruption occurs immediately. The active player will draw 1 of the face-down volcano tiles. That volcano will erupt. Place a lava tile in the first empty lava channel surrounding the erupting volcano in each direction. A space is only empty if there is no lava tile there. If there is a village or unraised moai in that space, it is destroyed and returned to the owning player. You can always use a prayer token to prevent this destruction. A player never loses points for the destroyed elements. Then return the face-down volcano tile back to the pile. The other way the island can be destroyed is by sinking. That is, if an area is completely surrounded by fissures and or the sea, it sinks. Even inland areas can sink if they are completely surrounded by fissures. And remember, fissures are placed every time a moai is raised. When an area sinks, you will do the following. The active player can save all of their settlers by moving their settlers to a space that is adjacent to the sinking area. Then, each other player can save one of their settlers, again moving one of their settlers to an adjacent space. All the other pieces are removed and returned to the players. And finally, all the land tiles are removed from the game. If a volcano sinks, remove its token from the face-down volcano tile pile. Now during the game, you're going to be getting points. Every time you build a village, you're going to get a point. You're also going to get 1 point for each moai that is raised in an area without your own villages. But if you do have villages in your area, then for each moai raised in an area that contains your own villages, you are going to score points equal to the number of moai you already have in an area multiplied by the number of villages you have in that area. And finally, the end of the game is triggered when there are 2 or fewer volcanoes left. Then play continues until the player to the right of the first player has completed their turn, then you proceed to final scoring. So for final scoring, you will score 3 points for each village you have left on the board, 4 points for each settler you have left on the board, each unspent prayer token is worth 2 points, and 2 points for each moai you have remaining on the board. You'll also get a bonus for each moai that you have left on the board that is adjacent to other moai of the same color. You'll score 2 points multiplied by the number of adjacent moai. Then, the player with the most points is the winner. So let's get back to see what I thought about Volcanic Isle. So let's first talk about theme and components. I felt the theme in this game really came through, from the components, which I'll talk about in a bit, to the actions you were taking and the destruction of the play area. I think that's why I tend to like volcano-based games. Most of the ones I've played have some sort of mechanism that kind of shrink that play field and really kind of get the players interacting with each other. As for the components, I should mention that there is a scoring track, which I didn't show in the overview, but it does have one to keep track of the points as you're playing the game. Now, as for the minis, they're simplistic, but you know what? They're really nice. There's no problem seeing the difference between them, and the colors are really nice and vibrant. The 3D volcanoes, again, are nice, and they've stood up well, even though they do seem kind of thin. They worked out great. The island itself looks nice and lush, and all in all, I think they did a great job in the production of this game. Now on to the gameplay itself, and it does seem to be a nice mix of styles. I definitely kind of get the vibe of an abstract strategy game. It's definitely not an abstract strategy game because there's a lot of play interaction, with trying to get your people around the board and get your villages built while trying to get the fissures around your opponents. But then you add in the randomness of the die roll and the random volcano pull for the eruption, which can definitely set you back a large amount if it happens at the wrong time during your play. And finally, the take that element, which is, it's not your typical take that element, but the strategic sinking of the island is something you definitely want to be arranging against your opponents, or even against your own people if you need them back. Now first, a few things I really liked on the gameplay. That kind of push your luck aspect to the game. And I don't mean that in a standard way, it's not like a dice rolling push your luck, but having all of your villages and moai around one volcano can get you a lot of points. But you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket. If it erupts, it can set you back a fair bit. But hopefully you've got enough points before then, so it kind of gives you some time to get back into contention. And this is honestly one of my negatives to this game. That random die roll and the random volcano pull. I've seen many games where the same person seems to be always hit with a volcano, even if they've spread out their people amongst 1 or 2 areas, while other people kind of never seem to be hit. There are some times you want your villages to be destroyed by the volcano. Kind of once you've maxed out a volcano area and you've scored all the points you're going to during the game, destroying it and having it rebuild can be worth another fair number of points, as long as it's not near the end of the game, as those end of game scoring can be a fair bit. I like the idea of not knowing when the eruption takes place. I just wish that they had paired it with a different mechanism to better predict which volcano would erupt. It kind of balances the resource that way. Maybe this volcano won't erupt as much, but there may be fewer geysers and lava flows for you to build on. This is one aspect I've seen really swing the game, especially near the end of the game. But losing your pieces due to the sinking, I really enjoyed, because you can see it coming and you can be planning for it. And again, it might be something you want to be doing. If there's an area with multiple players' villages, including your own, you may want to be the person that causes it to sink so you can rescue your people and have them available to start rebuilding right away because you get all of your people back, instead of trying to rebuild your population after sinking. Now, it's a good way to get your pieces back into your reserves as well. It also works as a bit of a levelizer in the game. If you have a big village where you're going to be scoring a large number of points, you know what? You've just painted a big target on your back. as the other players should be actively trying to complete the fissures around your village. But you can see it coming, and I really didn't mind this. Now, as for the replayability, you might have watched the playthrough and thought of it, well, it's kind of obvious where you should be placing your villages, and the moai around these certain volcanoes, as maybe the ones near the coast are too easy to sink. Well, the rules give you a way for creating a completely new set of tiles and allows players to start in different areas of the board. Now, the back of the rulebook kind of gives you some more examples of the ways you can set up the board, and there's full instructions on how you can create your own continent to do, which is definitely a plus. Now, the game length feels right for this game. The games I played lasted 45-60 minutes each, and it seems to play well with 2 players as it does with 4, but the game does feel different between the player count. So, would I recommend this game? Now, this is another hard one to make a call on. I like the theme and the main mechanisms, except for that random volcano eruption. As I said previously, it can cause a high level of frustration, as it can really swing the game kind of through no fault of your own. I think the biggest downfall of this game is that it is kind of forgettable. Beyond the nice components, there's really nothing keeping me coming back to this game. As I think maybe there are some parts I really like in this game, well, there's other games that do it maybe slightly better. So although I think you might really enjoy playing this game, I don't think this is going to be a game that you're going to be coming back to week after week after week. So I will say that this is one you should definitely try, but maybe not necessarily buy. And that's it for the moment. Until next time, thanks for watching.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.